I never really considered myself a bike guy. I didn't grow up racing dirt bikes. I didn't grow up watching MotoGP or anything like that. I came from a family of mechanics, and we always had old bikes laying around. We were farm kids, so we always had to keep them going ourselves. We always, finding things on the junk pile, and we were custom building different things to keep these things going. And as soon as I could get my bike license, I did, and there was just something about creating that got me. I didn't want things to be straight out of the factory. I wanted it to be personalized. So we were always, from the get-go, we were always modifying things. We never got some new bike and it was just, we'd just ride it around. It was always something old that we'd build up and, build to the purpose we wanted it. Bikes for me represented freedom. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's the same way a car represents freedom. It is a moving meditation. It requires absolute focus. It's something that you can get on and you can't think about anything else. You have to be 100% focused on the task at hand, and that to me represents an element of freedom. I find vintage bikes are much more interesting to work on than, say, a newer bike, because a vintage bike tells a story. I pull bikes apart that as each piece comes off, it's telling you a story of the last 40 years of the previous owners, what it went through, the conditions it was ridden in, and what modifications had to be done to the bike. In some bikes you find some things that you can tell they had to do something really strange just to keep the bike on the road. It might have been a breakdown fix or something that they never ended up fixing properly, and you find the weirdest and wackiest things. And you also get into the head of the designers that designed the bike originally. You get some bike from the 70s and you can actually get into the head of what those designers were thinking when they crafted that bike. You're always influenced when you start to redesign a bike, especially if it's custom. You get into the head of those designers, and then that influences how that bike's going to go. I find most builds are sort of in a state of flux. You have a general idea on what the bike is going to look like, but as you build it, as you pull it apart and it tells you that story, and then as you're putting it back together and making those pieces, the design adjusts and changes and everything as those influences come in. And so the end product is essentially never known until the bike's complete. You're never going to quite know exactly how it's going to be until that bike rides out the door.